How are we doing, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video, I'm going to be doing a Succession Ninja combo guide, where I'm going to be going through 6 different combos that I like to use. And that being said, these are 1v1 combos, so they don't really work in large scale of 1vx. You have to get pretty lucky to get something like this off. So I'll be giving you some tips and tricks towards large scale towards the end of the video. However, before we get into these combos, you can do any combo you want. You can take the combos I have, edit them a little bit for your preference, the way you like to combo, the way you like to play, or you can just use what you're learning here to create your own combos. That's absolutely fine. For me, these are the max damage combos that I've personally found. I don't know if they're the best combos, but all I can say is I have the most success using these variations. Now, for veteran players or people that know how CC mechanics work in BDO, this next section is not for you, it's more for the newer player. So feel free to look at the timestamps down below and skip a little bit further ahead. But I'm just going to be explaining to newer players how CC mechanics work. So, in BDO, all your skills either have a crowd control effect or no crowd control effect. If they don't have a crowd control effect, we can consider them as filler. Or if it says, like for blade spin, it will say float PvE only. So in PvP, it's a filler skill. Now on the ninja kit, you've got a stiff, a float, a stun, and a bound. There are 2 different types of CCs. There's knockdowns and knockbacks. We're not going to be discussing those in this video since the Succession Ninja does not have access to them. Now, a stiff is a very short duration CC, and your opponent can only be stiffed if they are in a standing position. A float is one of your best CCs for a ninja. It knocks the opponent into the air, and then eventually the opponent will hit the ground. You can float your opponent from any position, whether they are standing or on the ground. A stun is similar to a stiff. The difference though is a stun has a longer duration similar to floats. However, it can only CC your opponent that is standing, and your opponent will stay standing when you stun them. That is also true for stiff as well. When you stiff your opponent that is standing, they will continue to stay standing. They will not be grounded. They will not hit the ground. A bound is similar to a float. It can apply to an opponent that is standing or that's on the ground already. However, it's not the most preferred way of re-CCing your opponent because the bound effect has a very short duration. It's longer than a stiff, but it's shorter than a float. So you don't really want to re-CC your opponent with a bound, but obviously a grab is a very strong mechanic, so you will be initiating a lot of CCs with a grab. There's also a few more rules. Once you hit your opponent with a type of CC, let's use stiff as an example, you can use multiple stiffs, multiple skills with the same CC, so in this case stiff in a row, and these skills that you use after the initiating CC will not apply a CC to your opponent. So if you were to stiff your opponent with a malice, and then you were to use your secondary malice into a fatal blow, even though these are stiffs, they will count as filler damage because your opponent has already been stiffed here, and this rule makes it that if you use a CC on your opponent up to about, I think it's 1 second, I don't know the exact time, but up to about 1 second afterwards, they cannot be crowd controlled by that same crowd control effect. This is a huge benefit, especially for Ninja. There's a huge benefit in BDO generally, but especially for Ninja because of the way some of these skills work. Another very common catch would be smokescreen. So if you were to catch your opponent with a smokescreen and you did beheading straight after, the beheading will not stun your opponent because the smokescreen has already stunned them. Now, there's also a cap to your crowd control, to your CCs. Let's take the arbitrary number of 2 to be the cap. What we are then going to do is assign numbers to these different crowd control effects. A stiff would get assigned 0.7, float, stun, and bound gets assigned 1. Now I'm just going to quickly mention that knockbacks and knockdowns also have a CC counter of 1, but that's the last time we're going to talk about those 2 types of CCs. So 0.7, 1, 1, and 1. And I remember our CC cap was 2. So what does this mean? It means if we were to catch our opponent with a stiff, and then we were to follow up with a float, and let's say we were to do a filler damage, and then follow up with another float, we have CC capped our opponent. Why? Because we've got a CC counter of 0.7 for the stiff. It becomes 1.7 because it's a CC counter of 1 for the float, the Shadow Stomp. Filler damage doesn't apply any CC, so the CC counter stays 1.7. And because the CC counter is less than 2 when you activate Throw Kick, the Throw Kick float will go through. Therefore, now your opponent has a CC counter of 2.7. Any other CC effect you use after this skill, it does not matter. Your opponent will not get CC'd by any CC skills after they hit the cap of 2 or higher. As long as the CC counter is below 2 though, then they can freely get CC'd by the CC skills as long as you're following the laws that the CCs abide by. And that's basically it. That's what you need to understand about BDO and the CC mechanics. Now we can get into the combos that I like to use, and I'll be showcasing them in game in just a moment. Now, before we get into the meat and potatoes, the actual combos themselves, let's touch on the skill add-ons real quick. Red Rain and Shackles, these are just personal flair skill add-ons. They've got nothing to do with combos. You can change these to however you like to change them to. However, the way I do my combos, it's really important that on Blade Spin you have a 10% attack speed. The 5% accuracy, it's up to you what you want here. You can substitute 5% accuracy for 30% critical hit rate or minus 20 DP. For me, the accuracy goes further than the other two add-ons because I have a lot of gear. Therefore, like, I don't need the other, like the DP down and the crit hit rate. Yeah, that's great. I do more damage. But the only targets I've got issues comboing is evasion meme targets. Therefore, the accuracy is better for where I am. If you've got lower AP, maybe the crit hit rate might be a better one to pick here. I try to fit Malice in early on my skill combos. So that is why I've put the DP minus 15 and evasion minus 4 on the Malice. Fatal Blow, I've got PvP plus 10, critical hit damage plus 3%. These aren't the biggest damage boosts, especially if you're fighting people that have Garmoth's Heart or with Garmoth's Heart and they have special attack evasion in their chest. You're not going to get much juice out of that crit damage, but every little helps. So that's on the Fatal Blow. And then the Shadow Stomp's got a crit hit rate and air attack damage. These two modifiers specifically are for the Shadow Stomp themselves, but if you do catch your opponent with Shadow Stomp, these modifiers work great into Blade Spin, because Blade Spin has air attack modifier on it as well. Therefore, you're getting the crit hit rate for both the Shadow Stomp and the Blade Spin, because they have 0% crit on them. Therefore, now they've got inherent 20% crit, and then they both do air attack damage, so it does work out pretty nice in that environment. But those are the skill add-ons out of the way, so now let's get on to the skills. Alright, so let's start with the first combo, the double DP debuff combo. I'm going to go through it verbally and then show you guys a clip in game. So we're going to start off with the grab, go into a blade spin. We're going to hit the beheading, but we're going to instantly be hitting the malice button after beheading to cancel the animation. Go into the secondary malice after that, then go into the boss slaughter with double fatal blow flow. You got to do this very quickly to make sure you get the air attack modifiers. That's what brings the most damage into the combo. Going into Ghost Claw after that, then Shadow Slash, Heart Aiming, and then you do Shadow Stomp. You can either use Shoken Throw or Ghost Step to cancel for your Shadow Stomp. I prefer Ghost Step personally. And then turn your camera around and hit them with the flow of the Shadow Stomp. So now let's have a look at that in game. And just to mention, in these clips, I'm using 209 AP and my opponent has 309 DP. Now moving on to the second combo. Before we get into the triple stiff, triple flow combo, which I do really like to use, using air attacks properly for your combos is pretty huge to do the maximum amount of damage. Now this triple stiff, triple float combo does not utilize any air attacks. It's the only combo that doesn't. But the reason it doesn't is because it's maximizing your chance to CC your opponent. So over here, you can see we got grab into blade spin, ghost claw, then here's the triple stiff. It's malice, secondary malice into fatal blow. So there's your three stiffs. Then we're going to go into after the flow of the fatal blow, we're going to go into throw kick, fox claw, and then whichever cancel you like to use for Shadow Stomp. I prefer doing Ghost Step, back, Ghost Step, Shadow Stomp. So there's your 3 floats. So you've got 3 chance to stiff, 3 chance to float, and then I do Shadow Slash, Heart Aiming into Illusion. So I do like using this combo a lot personally, even though it doesn't have the air attack because of where my AP is. It's super successful, and it's kind of like it doesn't guarantee, but it strongly influences the ability to re-CC your opponent, especially if they have built-in resists. And other things, as we're going through these other combos, if there's certain mechanics you like from a different combo set, feel free to substitute them in. So what I mean by that is if you really like this double DP debuff mechanic, feel free to sub them in. So you can do it like this, right? Or down here, like for the next combo. You can substitute the double DP debuff if you want. I would recommend trying to squeeze, if you do that, definitely do try to squeeze the Glow Claw in somewhere else. So over here, what I would personally do is get rid of the illusion. If I was to do the double DP debuff, I'd get rid of the illusion, and then after the Shadow Stomp, I'd go into Ghost Claw, Shadow Slash, Hard Aiming. You could also do it like this if you prefer. Probably better to do it this way around, because I don't think you're going to have enough time to get all 3 hits off of the Ghost Claw. So if you were to do it the original, the way that I had it, you might have to cancel Ghost Claw after the second animation to do Hard Aiming. But, you know, feel free to definitely experiment. If you prefer a way of doing something, feel free to do it that way. This is just how I like to do things. So it's always up to edit, but now let's show you the in-game clip. Okay, and the third combo here is really my signature combo. I really like using this combo these days. It's super high damage because of the float, the air attack in the middle, but it goes grab into Blade Spin, into Ghost Claw, double Malice, Boss Slaughter into Fatal Blow Float. You've got to do this quickly to get the air attacks off, and then Shadow Slash into Heart Aiming. I like to do back Ghost Step Stomp into Illusion. If you prefer doing Choke and Throw into Shadow Stomp into Illusion, do it that way. Before I get into in-game, now there's one thing I'm going to mention. If you are PC players watching this, you might actually be able to fit the Illusion before the Boss Slaughter, because you guys have a key input for Illusion, and because of your rigs, if you've got a good rig with high frame rates, your skills are a lot faster than on console as well. So you might actually be able to fit this in, and what that will allow you to do is just end the combo with oops, wrong one. You can end the combo here like this instead. So PC players, test this out. I don't know if you can, but on console, I've done my best. I think I got it to work once, and that was out of a lot of tries, so it just doesn't really work on console. But have a go if you're a PC player, let me know if that works. But yeah, let's show you the in-game example. Okay, so the next combo here is if you get the stiff off of a block jump. This is actually your highest damaging combo, mainly because you do 2 air attacks in here. So after Boss Slaughter, you got air attacks with your Fatal Blow, and after Shadow Stomp, you got air attacks with your Blade Spin. You can also swap these around if you like. That is also definitely an option as well. I just like putting Blade Spin as the second one here, because if I get a down smash, it just really helps get off that illusion damage, as sometimes your opponents are kind of standing up during illusion, so if they got an iframe they put off quickly, you're not going to get the damage of illusion onto your target. But let's show you the in-game example of this one. Okay, so now if you catch someone with a Shadow Stomp, again this is another really high damage combo, mainly because you've got 2 air attack modifiers in here as well. But yeah, Shadow Stomp, Blade Spin into the Ghost Claw, double Malice, then you do a Boss Slaughter with the double Fatal Blow Flow for the air attacks, Shadow Slash into Heart Aiming into Illusion. And remember, like before, if your opponent doesn't have a grab, feel free at the end of any of these combos to throw in a Red Rain, or if your opponent's grab's on cooldown as well, feel free to throw in that Red Rain, to chip them as they're trying to get away from you. So your final combo is if you catch someone with beheading. So after your beheading, you're just going to go straight into your blade spin. Then you do your double malice into the boss slaughter, fatal flow with the air attack, shadow slash into heart aiming, and then do your shadow stomp with the flow at the end to finish it off. I'm pretty sure you can fit in an illusion at the end as well, but just double check that. And now let's get into the clip. Okay, so we've done the 1v1 portion of the video. Let's talk about 1vx and large scale. Now, in large scale, if you're in the bullfight, which you shouldn't be, but if you are, you're just throwing damage, protected damage, that's all you're doing, nothing else, okay? If you do something else, you're probably going to die. But what you really want to be doing is trying to go off to the sides and either flank or skirmish or do some 1v1s. If you're skirmishing and you end up in 1vx's, the most likely catches you are going to have, now, you can catch them with any skill, but most likely you're going to be catching them with something like a malice, or an evasion malice, or a beheading of the dead, or a shadow stomp. Those are the main catches, or smoke screen. Those are the main catches you are going to catch your opponents with, okay? So, that being said, what do you want to do after? This is where it becomes difficult, all right? What I would recommend is, well, obviously, if you catch them with the malice, you're going straight into shadow stomp, okay? That's a given. There's very few occasions you don't want to do that. If you catch them with the secondary, the prime malice, you can either do straight into shadow stomp, or you can do the alert stance into shadow stomp. It's up to you. Usually if you get these catches, you will be able to fast enough to get that CC off. And as soon as you do that, as soon as you got after that shadow stomp, you're going straight into the blade spin. Okay, so that's going to give you air attack from the blade spin, and it's going to give you attack speed modifier and the accuracy modifier. So that's pretty important. But let's say you've caught them with beheading. I'd go step behind them if you can, or in a different direction, just not where you're standing where you did the beheading, because people are coming here to CC you, because you remember you're in a 1vx. So you want to like go step and get the blade spin off from a different direction for those modifiers and for some damage. And then, so same thing with smoke screen as well. So with smoke screen, if you catch them with smoke screen, reposition and use the blade spin for damage. If sometimes you catch them with smoke screen, what you can also do is you got a couple other options as well. So if you catch them with smoke screen, what you can do, there's people coming, you can do alert stance beheading to CC other people. That's being aware of your environment. Another option you have is go to alert stance into, so you could do this, alert stance into shadow stomp. And then obviously you do blade spin after shadow stomp. So, these scenarios being said, there are a couple important re-CCs that you should be aware of. One, crescent slash is really good. So let's say you've caught someone with beheading, you've repositioned here, you want to ninja step away, go step back, and then do crescent slash into the flow for the reflow and some damage, and then you do red rain and delusion. So that's one option. The fox claw cancel is another really good re-CC option. So let's say this is how you've initiated, right? You've done the shadow stomp as the first catch, you've done a blade spin. What you can then do is reposition, like go into, what was that? Go into ninja step, use fox claw and instantly go step after the fox claw. So that will float your target, and it will give you a very small window where you can be CC'd. And again, after the fox claw, red rain and other bits and bobs like that, keep it protected. You want to keep the gap where you can get CC'd to a minimum, okay? And finally, block jump is another really good one. So let's say you've done your whatever it is, you've hit him with this, there's people coming, you can block jump, get behind the target, and then you've got a few choices. If you get behind the target here, you can just go step a little bit backwards and then do the crescent slash, or you can do shadow slash into crescent slash like this. Oops, that is not crescent slash, sorry. So you could do it like that. And the reason you want to do go step or shadow slash after the block jump is because if you just do block jump into crescent slash, the slash is very slow. So I'll show you here. You can see that slash is a bit of a wind up, so there's a lot of time for you to get CC'd. So you can reduce that window by using one of those skills to cancel it. So you can use that as your reflow, or you can, after the block jump, so let's say we've got behind them with the block jump, you can, oh, it doesn't work because, okay, we're just gonna have to wait for the block jump here. So let's say, there you go, you hit him with beheading, right? You got him with the blade spin, you block jump, and you can do the fox claw cancel off the block jump as well. So you got a couple of options there as your reflow, and then again, you're just finishing off Red Rain Illusion. Not really that much to it. It's more about knowing your environment. Now, what you can do if you really want to be tricky is, let's say you've shadow stomped your target, you've gone away, people are over here dealing with you. Another re-engage you can do is do a boss slaughter into Fatal Boy Flow for a really quick burst, but you have to be careful because if anyone can hit you over here when you come in, that's a long period of time where you're unprotected and you can get CC'd. Anyway, guys, that is going to be the end of this video. I hope the information has been helpful. I hope you can make use for it. If there's any tips and tricks or any specific combos you like using, feel free to share them in the comment section down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.